Hi, everybody. My name is Anne Desjardins. I'm your host for this wonderful podcast called the Silver Lyming. It is something that I've put together with my heart and soul in the effort to help to spread hope and awareness for people about Lyme and tick-borne illness. I love to share stories about other people who have recovered or are recovering from this sickness because I remember when I was so sick, how lonely and dark and desperate I was in that energy and space. And these kinds of stories would really help to uplift me and give me fuel for healing and for continuing forward and for finding strength and resilience in knowing that it is possible to get better. And so thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited to have this wonderful guest with me. She reached out to me on Facebook, which just makes me feel extra special to know that these stories are getting out to people and people are seeing this, and it really does matter. And my guest today is Morgan Roser. She is from my area here in West Reading, although we've actually never met in person. She works at Salon Shampoo in West Reading, and I really am, again, excited. She has some similarities to my story, which I guess all of us will in this space, but some specific similarities. So I can't wait for her to share a little bit more about her story and just really the progress she's made on her journey, because for her, it has really been a lifelong journey of trying to figure out what was going on with her body. So welcome to my show, Morgan. I'm really excited to have you here with me today. And if you don't mind, if you could just share with us a little bit more about your story, specifically how you came to know that you had Lyme and become involved in this world, please.
Yeah, sure. So I was bit by a tick as a child, which in the 90s, all kids lived outside. So it wasn't an uncommon thing, especially if you were outside in the woods. And I, had a tick in the back of my head and I pulled it out the one day. Just one of those things that just stuck with me. And my family, and when I got my diagnosis almost a year ago, we were like, it has to be from that tick because I had dark brown, thick hair. We wouldn't have seen anything if there was even a bullseye. So, fast forward, I become a teenager. I'm having these aches and pains in my body. I can't figure out what's wrong. The doctors are telling me, oh, you're fine, you're fine. You just puberty, stuff like that. I was always just brushed to the side. It was never taken serious. And then my senior year of high school, I started getting these hives on my body and couldn't figure out what it was. I went to the doctor, found out I actually have Hashimoto's thyroid disease. And now, almost a full 10 years later, I was diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease. So I was never treated because they never found out when I was a kid. And it's taken its full attack on my body. And I have the joint problems. I have everything that goes along with Lyme disease. And it has taken a toll on me over the years, mentally, especially because I thought I was crazy. And now that I have gotten my answers, it has helped me mentally and physically heal my body. And I am just grateful for something like this to be able to share with people because for so long I had no idea that it could be Lyme. And knowing now is just, it's mind blowing. It was such a simple thing that could have been avoided, and my Hashimoto's probably wouldn't have even been a thing. So, it is what it is, but it's made me grateful for the life I do have, because there are people that are worse off than I am. So I am lucky. But yeah.
That's a very positive and beautiful attitude to have upheld you through that progression of what has kind of um, maybe slowed your body down. I don't want to say like hurt you, but yeah, it has hurt you. Yes.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah.
Um, and so just for people listening, I don't know if they're aware, but Hashimoto's and Lyme disease are often interlinked, and just wanted to put that out there for people who maybe aren't aware and they have Hashimoto's and they don't realize potentially that they also have Lyme and tick-borne illness going on, or that's really what drove that. It was
Hmm.
explained is that our thyroids will do their best to protect themselves from the parasite, like the organisms attacking it. And so a lot of times that's what kind of happens as a result. Wonky things begin going on then with the thyroid just trying to protect itself. Um, can you then also tell us a little bit more about how you figured out, like what pointed you in the direction of saying, oh, I think I should get tested for this? Or was your doctor just like,
So
maybe we should look at this?
yeah, I finally found a wonderful, amazing doctor that listened. And I went in the one day and I'm like, I changed my job and I'm still having this joint pain that is just so bad. Some days I can't even walk. Like my ankles, they feel like they're going to explode, and the bottoms of my feet feel that way. Like
Ah,
something was messed up. And, I went from working crazy hours to a normal, work week and sometimes less. And I was still having these pains. And I went and he just ran a crap ton of blood work on me. And that came back along with lupus levels being a little wonky. But he had said to me that, Lyme can throw those levels. So let's just kind of focus on the Lyme right now, and then we'll go from there. And, since doing that, and I have lost a lot of weight, and that's been a big improvement as well in my health. And the last time I had all the blood work done, again, my levels for everything, including my thyroid, are the best that they've ever been. And to me, that just shows that just having the awareness of the disease is life changing.
yes.
And like you said, a lot of people don't even realize that they even have it. And if you have Hashimoto's, get checked, because if you don't have a family history of it, which I actually do, so I didn't even question it, but I just want people to be aware that it's it's a common thing, and it's a common thing that gets brushed under the rug, and
Yes.
it's something that um it can be debilitating, honestly. And I've been there. I've been to the point where I can't even get out of bed. And thankfully I have not had that in a long time. But it really can bring you down. So you do have to find the positive in all the situations.
Yeah. And then I'm curious, I'm listening to some of your symptoms that you're listing and just talking about your feet hurting a lot too. Did you ever get tested for co-infections? Or do you have Bartonella? Is that something
Um, they I don't really fully know. I'm going to be honest, I don't fully understand it yet. I'm still figuring all of that out. I know I was being sent to a rheumatoid arthritis doctor. So that's part of, they're trying to figure out what everything actually is. I was in a insurance change adjustment, so I had to postpone doctor's appointments and everything. So it's also been part of the healing process, is waiting for things. And getting into doctors and specialists now are very hard. It's not
yes.
the easiest. So yeah, I'm not 100% actually on that,
Yeah.
but
Okay. Well, that's something for you to consider. And again, people who are listening, it's very important to understand. You touched on a good point. It is common. So there's like 400 to 600,000 people a year infected with Lyme and tick-borne illness a year in our state, our country alone. But then also there are things called co-infections like Bartonella, Babesia, Ehrlichiosis, not to scare you or freak you out
yeah,
even
yeah,
more, but there are other things that a tick could potentially transmit to you, and they all have a different symptom set and subsequently will require a different treatment path as well. So it's really useful to know, have them check you for a full tick-borne panel, not
yeah,
just Lyme, because again, maybe your Bartonella is really what's driving your issues and it's not so
sure,
much Lyme. And that's just a good thing, again, to be aware of is what's happening to move forward in the right direction. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, so okay. And then that was good that you had that doctor to guide you and at least be aware once you were really being able to probably more specifically explain your symptoms on a holistic level. Like I think about that a lot of times is that I was going to see different doctors for different symptoms along the way, but never like the whole thing. So maybe it sounds
Yeah.
like you were able to tell someone the whole thing. And when I finally got to someone who heard the whole thing, I'm pretty sure they knew at that moment exactly what was wrong with me. And
Yeah.
there is such relief in getting that diagnosis. Like
Yeah.
that alone is just assuring you you're not crazy.
Yeah.
God didn't make you broken or defective. That was really how I felt from a very deep core level, was that I was just made defective from
Hmm.
other people
Hmm.
because I kept getting told there was nothing wrong with me except for stress. And
Yeah.
it just didn't make sense for what I felt like was happening inside of me. I
Yeah.
knew that it wasn't just stress and that there was something really wrong.
Yeah.
Um, so now that I think you mentioned, or I know I'm aware of this, that maybe it's been about a year since you got diagnosed. Is that right?
Yeah. It will be a year at the end of April.
Okay. That's
Yep.
great. And so I'm glad that things are moving in the right direction. It sounds like your body's coming back to life. Like again,
Definitely.
when you tell me about losing weight, it's like we discussed a little bit earlier, but just that your metabolism is coming back to life and your body and your being are able to like breathe again and
Yeah.
move and lessen that weight that you were carrying because I know you said no matter what you did, you couldn't lose weight. What didn't matter what you ate, it didn't matter how much you worked out, your body was just sort of stuck. So I think that's beautiful to see happening. Um,
Yeah.
plus also it does help you on so many other levels. And I think I'm not sure if people have ever thought about this. I know some people have, but like mentally when we're bogged down too, or spiritually when we're bogged down,
Hmm.
we hold weight on us. It just is something that is also there with us because we're very heavy and it just puts that there. So
Yep.
I'm just thinking like you got released a little bit, you got some freedom in getting that
Yeah.
diagnosis and understanding your body that much better. But also, what are you doing or are you doing anything to treat specifically or support your body now that you know this clarity of diagnosis to help yourself?
So I definitely have changed my diet. It's definitely more clean. I'm not perfect because no one is, you
We're
know what I mean?
human. That's right.
Right. But I definitely have listened more to what my body is craving and what it needs. And it was funny because I've never really been a big red meat girl. And the one day I was like, I really want a cheeseburger. Like, I really want a burger. And my roommate was like, that's weird for you. I'm like, yeah. And then a couple days later, I got my period, and I was like, oh, it was probably low on iron,
Mhm.
like,
Yes. Yes.
and that's the thing, like, since I've been doing that, like, my body's like, oh, yeah, you're listening to me. Thank you. Thank you. And I am. And it's been working. So that's what I do.
Well, that's exciting. Good.
Yeah. But
So,
I haven't been working out or anything. I think part of my weight loss also is I did get a divorce. So I think the stress from being unhappy and that and then my job change and everything, it's a complete freedom for myself. And that has definitely been a huge part in everything. But that also goes to show what even just stress can do to your body. And stress when you have autoimmune disorders and diseases is not good at all. I was almost 200 pounds and I'm down to 120 something,
wow. Wow.
yeah. So, and it's not like I'm sitting here counting calories or anything like that. That's far from it. It's a happiness. And I am not letting things bring me down anymore. And I'm just trying to do what is best for me, mentally and physically. So just one day at a time.
That's beautiful. I mean,
Yeah.
that's like Ayurveda in a nutshell. Again, is just looking at people, body, mind, and soul. When things are in alignment, the body can just function in such a more optimal state of being. And you're
Yeah.
moving more into the sattvic energy or like the enlightened, alive side of life and the bright, clear side of things. And that's great because that's really, again, when we're too much Thomas and Rajasic energy, it's like we are torn or like a lot of anxiety or just really heavy. bad, like more on the death side of the
Yeah.
spectrum, right? Like the
Yeah.
decaying and the dying side
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
moving into the alive side of being. And it's
Yeah.
just you're perfect proof, like physically and spiritually, you can see that whole shift happening within your being, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Stress is definitely one of the absolute worst things, especially for Lyme and tick-borne illness. Like everything about it just counters any kind of healthful anything we can do for ourselves. I mean, it constricts, it squeezes, it closes, it just pushes, it makes things go in the wrong direction all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
can always tell when I'm stressed out because I
mhm,
can feel the flare up coming on, you know? It's just like there it is. Like, gotta
yeah,
stop.
yes.
Yeah.
So again,
Yeah.
it's more of like a permanent life accountability coach, which is not a bad thing to have. And it's nice for you where you're learning at it about it at your age. Like it's setting you up for just much better health as you age, you
Exactly.
know? And so
Right.
that's fantastic. Um, were there moments through your journey? Because I mean, you went from almost not being able to walk to
Hmm.
now like feeling pretty good in your body. Were
Yeah.
there things that you felt were like signs for you that you were going to get better? I know we had kind of talked like people really sometimes, I think, accept, or maybe it's a better way to ask this is like people sometimes accept where we are physically. Like the doctor might say, you did talk about this before, is that you can't undo what's been done to your body.
Yeah.
Um, and you're more of the mind, it sounds like, where you're like, aha, that's not necessarily truth. I am going to fix my body and really undo a lot of what has happened to me. What has made you more in that space? Like, why are you choosing that instead of a different outcome?
So in 2022, I started a self-healing journey, and it was very spiritual for me. I was in a very stressful job. It was in a stressful relationship, and at the time, I didn't even realize it was my relationship. I just thought it was my job, and I really started focusing on myself and my spiritual healing. And I had said this before, like I was reading this chapter in the book and I'm like, oh my gosh, this woman sounds just like me. And I remember texting my work bestie the paragraph and she's like, that sounds like you. And I was like, yes. I was like, I have to quit. She's like, no, you can't. And I was like, no, I have to. This is the sign. Like I'm done. This is it. Like it doesn't get any clearer. Like I can't. So, that was the biggest thing for me was when I really started that. And that was just because I wasn't happy, but I wasn't fully unhappy. But I just knew that it could be better. I knew that mentally I could get myself in a better place because I had been in a better place before. It's not like I was super depressed and all of that. I have my days, as everyone does, but
Right.
overall I was so grateful for my life and, everything I had, but there was just something missing. And since I went on, or been on this journey, because I honestly feel like you're never fully finished it. And that's kind of the beautiful thing about it. Um, I have grown so much in learning about just myself and, um, who I am and who I'm becoming. And it's an exciting thing. And not only, with my health, but just overall who I am. And it's something that I'm very grateful for. And I'm kind of learning me all over again. So yeah, it's been interesting.
Yes. And again, like incredibly beautiful. And I love the fact that I feel like we're similar in that you can like look back and see where you've come and just see the progress that you've made. And honestly,
Yeah.
like as sucky it was in the middle, when I look back now, it truly is one of the most beautiful things that I can remember witnessing and being a part of in my entire life. Just that whole evolution of a person and how we can go from here to there
Yeah.
through the pain, through the trauma, through the whatever, and come out the other side and still have a smile on our face, still feel good, still be excited, still have hope that we're going to evolve, like continue
Yeah.
evolving into even better beings, right? So that's really awesome. Um, do you have any kinds of I mean, you've given a ton of inspiration in my opinion already, but specific words of encouragement or advice for people while they're going through this progression. Like, I mean, I think I would feel like what I'm thinking about is like, I'm sure there were days where, especially when you were younger, like, you're like, what is going on? How am I going to deal with this? My body feels like such crap. Like, how do I keep going?
Yeah.
Like, how did you keep going? What were
I,
you thinking
what's
about in
funny
those
is because like
moments?
I literally, being a hairstylist, I do all ages of hair, and I have these old women, and they'd be like, "Oh, you have no idea what it's like to be old." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, I feel like crap now, so I don't even want to know what I'm gonna feel like when I am old."
Yeah.
And so, honestly, my biggest thing is the mental, like the mental game it plays on you. And you can wake up every single day and find negatives in your day, but you can also wake up every single day and find positives. So wake up and find those positives, not those negatives, because karma is a thing, and you give out the good comes back. When you're constantly putting out the negative, it's going to come back to you. So when you are basically beating yourself up over something you can't control, you can't control that your body feels the way it does. So remind yourself of that and remind yourself, hey, you know what? I can't, but I'm still beautiful, or something, because at the end of the day, you're here for a reason, and you may not know what it is yet, but there is a reason. And I remind myself of that daily. And I'm grateful for the whole process I've been through. That sounds crazy. And I don't think, 24-year-old Morgan would have ever said that, but I have learned so much, and I am very grateful. And I'm actually very much looking forward to my 30s, because I feel like it's going to be one of those things that it's like, okay, I have a better idea of what's not only going on in life, but me and my body. And I'm excited and I'm ready. And I just want people to realize that it's not the end of the world. And I, was brushed off by doctors for years. And I thought I was crazy. I'm like, everyone really feels this way? I'm not like, what? Really? No one complains? So there I was. I didn't say anything because I really was truly thinking this was normal. The way I felt every single day from 12 to now, I thought was normal, and it's not. And it's okay to find out what is wrong. And the biggest thing is to fight for yourself, because you don't do that and you won't get answers. But I knew there was something wrong with me, and I had let it go for a period of time. And then I was like, why? Because I feel like crap. And then I started fighting again. And now here I am. I have my answers, and life just keeps getting better and easier. And it shouldn't be hard. That's not why we are here. We're not here to fight. We're here to enjoy.
Yes. Thank you for the reminder.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just you're touching on so many things, and that's such good advice on so many different ways and levels, and just like learning to be, learning to accept, learning to let go, just being okay with what has come to us, but knowing that there is the ability to make changes and do things differently, or gain that perspective that allows us to shift how we see what we're experiencing, that it helps us to relate to it differently. And just that alone gives us space sometimes to heal.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I'm just really blown away by, again, the transformation that you've seen in your own self. And I hope this, again, for other people listening, is just as inspirational, because when I find younger people than me that have already gone through this huge shift, and I'm like, and I'm 45, but it's okay, because it comes to us when it's supposed to come to us, and we learn things when we're supposed to, and we're always in the right space at the right time.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I just know that's going to serve you so well moving forward, and just giving yourself the freedom. Like, you look like a picture of perfect health sitting there. And I know that's something else too with Lyme. Let me not
Uh-huh.
freak people out, that like it's one of the most invisible illnesses possible, where you look great on the outside, but you feel crummy on the inside. But I feel like genuinely you feel pretty good on the inside. Your energy is reading
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
of
And
on that
that is one
level.
of those things that people are like, well, you always seem so fine. And I was like, Yeah, you fake it till you make it, but really on the inside, I'm dying, but I'm not,
Well, you really
But
are in a sense, like it's
yeah,
slowly but surely
right,
killing you over time, and your body
right.
just fails in the end because it
Yeah,
just, you know, it can
yeah,
win, it can win that long race with us, unfortunately.
right. Yeah. And that's why it's just one of those things like you just have to live your life. You can't stop because oh, you have aches and pains. Yeah, it sucks. But you know what? I'm still going to go out and do things because I'm not supposed to be cooped up inside all the time. No,
Yeah.
I want to enjoy my life. I want to go out and do things. So I may pay for it the next day for a bit, but you know what? I'm aware of that now and I know how to, balance my schedule. And it's okay. Well, I might be doing something that's way more hard, on my body and I may feel it the next day. Then I'm going to make sure I don't work the next day or, like plain and simple. It's just knowing is it's
I know. I know.
literally mind blowing.
I
It's
know.
wild.
And it just,
Yeah,
again, it really helps make sense out of everything and
yeah,
just to remind you that you're not crazy. And
yeah, yeah,
all those times when it's like, ah, what is wrong with me? And now it's like,
yeah,
oh, I get
yeah,
it. I get it. I
mhm,
get it.
yeah.
That is
Well, it's
again
like
like,
yeah, I would have these like random like pinch nerve things, and it would like shoot down my arm, and I'll never forget. It was like seventh grade the one time I was at my friend's birthday party, and I like moved and my arm went and my cupcake went flying out of my hand and they were all like laughing and making fun of me. And meanwhile, my tongue is like numb and the side of my face is tingly. And I'm like, this isn't normal, you know? And it's nerve damage from everything I've been dealing with. And I mean, I was a early teen when that was happening to me, And
yeah,
I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like, what? People people have this normally? No, no,
yeah, yeah,
no.
yeah,
So, it's just and as a kid, you're like, what is wrong with me? Like my friends don't have this. Why do I have this? Like so you kind of get like this complex about yourself, and you distance yourself because you're different. And yeah, and it really was just because I had something wrong with me and I wasn't even aware of it. But, I don't let that bring me down anymore because I know what it is. And I just figure out my next step rather than letting it bring me down. So
yes,
you have to.
yes. There's so
Yeah.
much, again, just so much freedom in that. And
Yeah.
I don't like, I don't know if people really understand that until it happens to you and you're just like, oh, thank God.
Hmm.
Thank God. Oh,
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
and you can kind of move forward again because it really does weigh you down trying to figure out what's happening
Yeah.
to your body. As you
Yeah.
know, deep down inside, something's wrong. This isn't
Wrong.
normal. Other people are not experiencing this, but it is something that you become a little bit embarrassed about or
Hmm.
conscious
Self-conscious
of.
of. Yeah. Like, because it was one of the things like I didn't want to talk about it because I felt like I was always complaining, And I'm like, but I'm not a complainer. Like, I'm actually a very upbeat, bubbly person, So
Yes.
what's wrong with me?
Exactly. What has gotten into my bubble here? Get
Yeah,
it out. I always like
exactly.
to picture myself as living in a pink bubble, right?
Yeah.
Like I just really protect myself and my energy in that space. Only love can come
Yes.
in, bad stuff cannot. And
Yes.
I
Yeah.
just I choose to live in that space. But when you're not feeling very well or right, it's kind of hard
Mm-mm.
to stay centered in that energy just
Yeah.
because something is wrong. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you've gotten answers and you have such clarity about self now. And
Yeah.
I'm thinking about also your spiritual journey that you're going on. I wish you the best of luck with that because
Thank you.
it's hugely important. And that alone, just when we're comfortable in our own skin, gets us in the right frequency that a lot of times disease won't even be on our radar because we're just happy, peaceful beings that are again comfortable. We look at the word disease, right? It's dis-ease of body, mind, or soul. So that's a very, very great journey to continue on. And I encourage you if you ever need help or you want to talk about things like that. I love talking about things. So feel free to reach out. And you've already also touched on this quite a bit, but My favorite question to ask people as a parting thought, and for those going through this, just to give them, again, a little bit more hope. Can you tell me what is the best thing that's happened to you as a result of getting Lyme and tick-borne illness?
Um, hmm. I think the best thing that it really has done for me is just shown me that no matter what, you can overcome. And it's not always an easy path and it may take years, but as long as you keep fighting, you will get where you need to get. And, I never really thought of myself as a fighter. I mean, maybe if you ask my family, they would say otherwise. But, I don't know. I think it's all about, the mental game for sure. Because mentally, if you're in a bad place, you're physically going to be in a bad place. And a lot of people, I think, don't realize that, and they don't realize that they can choose positive. They can wake up every day and, be grateful for something. I know when I first started, and I mean, I still do this when I journal every day, I write, three things I am grateful for in the day. And that has done a lot, whether it's a rough day and I'm grateful for my bed, food, and my job. Um, those are still three things that some people don't have. So, it's all about the mind game. And I I learned this in beauty school actually was fake it until you make it. And I just kind of put that into my life in general is just fake it till you make it and you'll make it. And I'm making it. So,
A girl. That's
yeah.
awesome. And just the power, like when you journal, you've said gratitude so many times through this interview, and that's fantastic because that's really one of the best attitudes we can hold because through gratitude, true healing can genuinely
Yeah.
occur. But to journal it, to write it down, to sit and take the time intentionally every day to list what you're grateful for just amplifies that message that you're putting out to the universe and it comes back to you that much stronger. And again,
Mhm.
that is one of the best vibrations we can use to help to heal our body. It's gratitude and love and just general
Yeah.
peace and acceptance for everything. So
Yeah.
that's great advice to leave for people and something wonderful to learn in
Yeah.
life. And if that's one of the best lessons that you ever get in life, it's one of the best lessons you can get. So
Mhm. I
again,
agree.
I think it's sucky while it happens and while you're
Mhm.
going through it, but when you get that clarity, it's Abraham Hicks is one of my favorite spiritual teachers. I don't know if you listen to her, but she often talks about the contrast. And through the contrast is when we can see what we really do want. And so the things that we don't want, we can cross that off our list and say,
Mhm.
yeah, nope, definitely don't want that. This is
Oh
giving
yeah.
me so much more clarity about what I do want and going more into that space. And so,
Yeah. Yep.
um, yeah,
That's my newest journey is all of that. So it's an exciting thing. And like I said, I'm really looking forward to my next chapter and how everything plays out. But yeah, I'm also very grateful that invited me to here today. And
yeah,
I
me
got to
too.
share because it is a hard thing for people, and I definitely had a hard time wrapping my head around it, and I think for a bit I blamed my parents, and then I was like, but wait, no, nope, no, because I mean, I can actually take it back on, like, sometimes I would post on my, like, Facebook, my memories pop up, and it's, like, me complaining about my back pain or my ankle pain and stuff like that, and I actually had something pop up about how I went to the doctor for x-rays, and they still don't know what's wrong with me,
Ah,
and I'm like, "See, no, my mom was and I think even my parents felt some type of way at first too, like, oh my God, we failed you. I'm like, no, you didn't. The doctors failed us, that's who failed. Because like my sister said, when I got my Hashimoto's diagnosis, she's surprised they didn't look then. No, we just did, oh yeah, basic, brushed it off.
they
So,
don't know is part of the problem. And it's like
mhm,
I really do genuinely believe it's a lack of education and it's a lack of
yeah,
understanding.
yeah,
And I've gone back to the places where I went through in my quest to figure it out and talk to them and explain to them what was really wrong with me. And they felt horrible because
yeah.
I think they do know about it, but like the correlation to
Yeah, actually
connect
putting it all together. Yeah, the
just
connection.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I think also that's just something else we could maybe help to free ourselves from. And it sounds like you're doing a great job at that and not putting blame. There really is no blame to put in a
No.
sense.
Well, and had I said like now it's so much easier to look for that kind of stuff. They know like, oh yeah, you may be running a fever. You may not have a symptom at all.
Yeah,
But back in the day that wasn't a thing.
correct.
You were supposed to look for a bullseye and that was really it.
Correct. Or Bell's palsy. That was the thing my mom
Yeah.
had me so freaked out about, was having my
Yeah.
face lock up like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, but there's so many other things it could be. And you could be going your entire life and not even know. You could have no symptoms at all,
That's right.
and that's what's crazy and that's what's scary. And I just feel for those people that are, going around and they have no idea what is wrong with them and they're not figuring it out because they keep getting brushed off and just keep fighting. That's all I can say. Just keep fighting for yourself
Yes.
because it'll figure itself out eventually.
Self-advocacy is huge with this, and it's sad
Mhm.
that it has to come down to that, but it really is just a matter of doing that. And again, if you're someone who's listening, you brought up another good final thought here is just if you're struggling with unanswered health conditions, if you've got chronic illness going on, if there's things in your body that just don't make sense, no matter what doctor you see and what they tell you, please get checked for Lyme and tick-borne illness. Do yourself the favor. No, also the standard two-tier testing, the Western blot and the ELISA is at best 65% accurate. It's a terrible measuring stick for this
Mhm.
this problem.
Terrible.
And
Absolutely terrible.
yeah, there's more sensitive labs. If you are really interested, you can reach out. I can guide you with that. You can do a little bit of research and probably find some clarity around that. There's a place called IGenix, and that's a lab out of California. I can think, I feel like Galaxy Labs, trying to think of some of the other ones, LabCorp. These are a little bit more specialized than your standard labs that can usually detect these kinds of things better, but also make sure you're getting screened for co-infections because they are almost as common as Lyme and can be just as detrimental and causing problems throughout the body. So, um, Morgan, this has been wonderful. Like you brought up again so many ideas and things that I try to encapsulate for people. I hope this is a very inspiring episode for people. I do think all of them are, but it's just beautiful to sit and hear someone else who's had a very similar experience and, is choosing to use this as a thing to propel herself forward and give her
Yes.
strength and power versus something that's there to strip away power and make us a victim of something.
Well, thank you again for having me. I really do appreciate it because getting the awareness out about it is, I think, a huge thing because I think it just gets brushed off, and I don't think people actually realize how serious it can be. Because I didn't. I'm gonna be the first to say that, like, oh, it's fine, but it's not. And now I know, I make jokes about it, but you have to.
Sometimes, yes, that's the
So,
best thing we can do
yeah,
is laugh at ourselves a little bit at
yeah,
least because not you're gonna go a little bit more crazy and
right,
um
exactly.
it is it is something that can be, it's a very time sensitive thing. And
Mhm.
so the longer you go without treatment, the more time it has to burrow into your body to infiltrate your organ systems. And so it's just very important to get ahead of that, understand what's going on with your body, get treatment, get in line with somebody who really understands how Lyme and tick-borne illness works to help you support yourself, just to eradicate it the best that you can or get your levels down as much as possible so you feel good in your body. And that's another thing I think people don't quite get is the longer that you go with it, the more it burrows into the being.
Yeah,
And so it's
yeah.
just it's very, very
That
important to
was
get help
terrifying
early.
to read when I got my diagnosis and I was reading about everything. I was like, oh, okay. Like, oh, it's really done its damage. It's there. But it also makes a lot of sense to all of my daily issues that I was having and now I understand what it is and that just having the answer, like I said, is so big and helpful because now I
Yes,
just learn how to manage and go about and, figure out the healing.
that's right. That's right. Which is possible. And you're
Yeah.
doing it. and you're doing a great job of it. And again, that's why I do this podcast. That's why I love to have people like you on here, because you're proof in the pudding that it is possible to heal. It is possible to get better. And just again, to have that clarity is one of the biggest first steps that you can do for yourself. So, as I mentioned earlier, if you're struggling with unanswered health issues, please get yourself to someone who can help get you tested adequately. Thank you again for listening. Thank you, Morgan, for being here. And I really am looking forward to sharing this episode. Take
Thank
care.
you.